Hi, I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. First up, our continuing coverage of frustrations about Google Plus being expressed by friends and foes alike. We've heard Google Plus described as a deserted wasteland where people spend on average 3 minutes a month. Google Plus has been called a ghost town that will eventually die a slow, painful death like its predecessors, Google Buzz and Google Wave. The latest post to make its way around the internet is from serial reviewer Robert Scoble, a man we've grown accustomed to hearing praise Google's entry into social with an almost evangelical zeal. Not so today. Scoble's recent post begins by noting that Facebook is continuing its cherry-picking of Google Plus's best features, this time with the new full-screen, higher-quality photo viewer. Good for them. There isn't a top-notch tech company in existence today that ever met a great idea it didn't steal. That's business. And Google Plus has seen a tidal wave of the world's best photographers signing up, in many cases because of Google Plus's superior handling of photos. Then Scoble notes a new Facebook Interests feature. He wonders how much Facebook is being driven by the arrival of a new social competitor from Mountain View. Scoble draws a comparison that seems to show Facebook regularly shipping beautiful oil paintings, while Google is playing with a paint-by-numbers coloring book. Big sweeping features on the one hand versus little improvements on the other. To be fair, Google Plus is a newborn child to Facebook's adolescence. But Scoble has some points, and make them he did. Here are some of the problems he sees. The lack of a right API, he calls a huge hole. The ease for people, even as demonstrated by a Google engineer a while back, to accidentally post publicly when they didn't mean to. We all get a little nervous when posting privately, or double or triple check to make sure we don't have a public listed at the bottom when we're posting something sensitive to a select group. I admit it, I get nervous, I always check. Google's mobile apps, nowhere near Facebook's. Even I rarely use Google Plus on my phone. I read the Gmail notification and then usually respond when I get back to my computer. It is just such a pain. Facebook's mobile apps are way better. He laments Google's failure to build a terrific iPad app when iOS is clearly the undisputed runaway tablet leader. Why is there no URL shortener in Google Plus? Google has an excellent URL shortener. Why isn't it built in? Why do I have to go to a different tab to get the short URL and then switch back to Google Plus and paste it in? This isn't rocket science. Why no custom domains? We had them with Buzz. Why can't we see the things we have +1 on Google Plus? Why can't I see yours? What's the point of the +1 button if it dies at the post? Shouldn't it be a means of discovery rather than mere applause or recognition? Why the 5,000 follow limit? You can make a case for limiting the number of friends you have on Facebook or Path, but Google Plus has evolved into a content creation and sharing network, a blog platform, if you will. So why the limit? Makes no sense. Speaking of blogs, Robert Scoble asks, why isn't Blogger integrated yet? You should read Robert Scoble's post. It's great, and we link to it in the video description. In essence, Scoble seems frustrated and bewildered at Google walking in baby steps to chase the galloping racehorse that is Facebook, and I think Scoble nailed it. The question is, this whole criticism is largely predicated on the premise that Google Plus is trying to chase Facebook rather than build a new paradigm, a new type of thing. But these are all legitimate criticisms we've talked about many times. Alan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think you can argue about some of the details. You can argue about some of the little problems. You can even argue about some of the big problems. But I think what it fundamentally boils down to, what Scoble I think was fundamentally saying is, why in the world would people want to come to Google+? Why would they want to spend their time here? Why do we spend our time here? And as far as Google is concerned, what value added is there for all of this? And I think it's up to Google to fundamentally, at the end of the day, answer those questions, and they haven't done so.
Okay. Peter, what are your thoughts?
You know, I'm going to agree with Alan a little bit. I understand Scoble's frustrations. I've shared a lot of the same frustrations on these things. This is actually a topic I'm going to be talking about at PodCamp. It was supposed to be Google Plus and why it's good for your brand and good for your business. And as the weeks continue to roll by, as we continue to advance the amount of content that we're sharing here and the amount of time that we're spending interacting, I'm not seeing anything back from the company. I'm not seeing these simple little fixes. and these things that could so easily be done, but they're the roadblocks keeping other businesses to come here. One of the things I noticed watching a TV ad for a TV show, it was follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/the name of the show and tweet us @ the name of the show. Now, if they were to advertise they were on Google Plus, that would be a challenge for them, because there's no easy way to do that at this point. And I think that alone is one of the roadblocks. There's just so many roadblocks keeping businesses from coming here. And I think businesses would drive the traffic here and continue the success of this network. But until Google fixes those problems for business, they're in an interesting spot right now.
Pam, you're a typical user. You're not a super techie geek, and you love the service. You're on here all the time. What do you think about this? You've heard these criticisms. We've talked about them before.
You know, I think that that since it went public, that Google has been less and less responsive to the feedback that they have asked for. It's been a long time since I've seen the community managers commenting on posts, and they're I don't know what their plan is. I don't know. It's hard to see where they're going with this, because they kind of threw it out there and they're condensing everything together, and then now what? You know.
Okay.
So yeah, I completely agree with Alan and Peter on that, especially when it comes to how they're handling businesses, inviting businesses into Google Plus and making it worth their while. I mean, because any business is going to have to invest money just to post something on here or to have a page, because they have to pay somebody to monitor it. So I just don't see them making the welcome wagon.
That was another criticism, that you can't, they'll recommend followers for you that don't ever post anything. So why are they wasting your time with that? Some of the algorithms, which Google's famous for, aren't spectacular here. Harold, you're a huge engager. You've heard us talk about some of these things. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I just have the opposite feeling. I've never had a company that I can talk to directly to the people. The two things that I asked for in these Hangouts was to have a YouTube button in the Hangouts, and also to have Google Docs in the Hangouts. And this week we got that. I don't know any other company that we can talk directly with the people. I just love the way they communicate with us.
Okay, let's look at the Justin chat, Alan, and then or real quick, Sarik, what are your thoughts on this? And then we're going to get to some of these comments as Alan preps for that.
I think, Robert Scoble is a power user, right? I mean, most of us are as well. I don't know. I mean, it's not required that all of us should have a technical background or anything, but from what you have discussed, most of us are real power users, right? But if you look at I'm not trying to defend Google. There are a lot of things which I would like Google to have as well, things which we consider are very minimalistic features, minimalistic improvements. But in the whole list of Google's to-do list of Google, what is their prioritization? We'll never know. How do you know tomorrow they will come out with something like a Hangout, which is a new killer feature? Today they activated the phone, which we'll discuss later. So my whole point is, yes, I would love to have many of the things Scoble posted, commented on, but I think we should we should cut them some slack, give them some more time. That's my point.
Okay. All right. We're going to go to Alan with some comments from the Justin.tv chat. I encourage you very much to join that. And I got a laugh, totally off topic. I just saw from Christopher Rizzo a post here. Someone's created a website, and Tumblr, of just pictures of Geraldo Rivera in hoodies.
That in and of itself is a really scary thought for a lot
many
of
reasons. There's even a nice picture of him on the cover of Playgirl, which is a visual I will never get out of my head, unfortunately. But I don't want to get too far off topic.
From our Justin TV chat, I think a lot of people are coming on both sides of the issue, of course. George Cozy echoes something that Sarik just said, and I wanted to bring it out. And that was pointing out that we still have a very new service here. We are just barely turning 9 months old in a few days. This is new. We should, cut Google some slack. In fact, that was something that in the debate in comments this afternoon that Oleg expressed as well, is to cut them slack. And I'll be honest, I think like many users who've been here from the beginning, I do cut them slack. I cut them a lot of slack. I don't know their priorities. I don't know how many people they've got working on this. There are a lot of things about the fundamental management that I don't know. And I'm certainly not a manager. I don't, I don't have their full set of priorities. That said, sometimes you look at what comes out from them and you just have to wonder what's going on and what their priorities are. I mean, if Oleg was here, I would, point out just how much time and energy they seem to have spent on giving us mustaches, on giving us, letting us write our own memes. I mean, that's a feature that I almost never see used nowadays. Peter uses it on occasion. That's about it. So there's just this fundamental questioning of where are their priorities? And I don't know. That's kind of the thing that's frustrating. Now, I could look at Scoble's list and I can match it up to my list, and I can compare it to Sreek's list and Oleg's list, and we can spend hours or days doing these things. But I think what it just kind of fundamentally boils down to for me is Google is telling us that Google Plus is something. They're trying to define what it is. And they need to actually prove to us that that's what it is. Everyone has their own opinions of what it is, but, fundamentally, this is Google's playground, and they need to give us the swings if they want us to swing. They need to give us the monkey bars if we're going to swing from a monkey bar. But they need to give it to us.
Of all the criticisms we've heard, Alan, this probably hurts the most, right, for them? I mean, not for us, because I agree with most of what he said, but this is not some Google hater. I mean, this is a big fan.
That's what I think fundamentally did it for me, and why I reposted Scoble's post when I did. Because you see a lot of people will comment and criticize and say, oh, it's a ghost town, oh, we're missing these features, oh, we need the API, oh, we need this, oh, we need that, oh, we need the other thing. And usually when people see those posts, they kind of say, oh, look, that person only has 23 followers. Oh, look, that person has made no public posts. Oh, look, they don't get Google Plus. Scoble is somebody who gets Google Plus. I don't think anybody can deny he doesn't get Google Plus. And he's beginning to criticize it again. It's not the first time he's criticized it even. So here's somebody who's standing up and saying, hey, I love Google Plus. I'm a huge fan of Google Plus. You need to fix it. Okay,
Sreek, you had some stuff you wanted to say?
I think for Google, what matters is what is the average user. It's all about the average user. It's not about any one of us. It's not about Scoble. I've seen Scoble swing both ways. Sometimes he gets easily frustrated. Yes, I can understand from his perspective. Yes, and he's a power user. He has 1 million followers, right? So the message he tries to put across kind of reverberates on the internet a lot. But the bottom line is a lot of people doesn't even care, and I don't think Google really is going to care. Yes, I mean, do you think it's the first time somebody has mentioned to Google that, okay, you need all these features? There are a lot of other things that can be added to Google Plus as such. But just because one person expresses it, do you think it's going to make a difference from Google's perspective? I doubt it.
Sreek, I don't think that. But I think here, but there's a big difference between me saying, hey, Google desperately needs an API. One of my friends who makes, one post a month who says, hey, I'm not posting because Google needs an API. And Robert Scoble saying, hey, Google needs an API. And who of those three, who is Google going to listen to more? And the answer is Robert Scoble.
Oh, I don't deny that.
He's probably not, Google is probably listening to all of them and says, yeah, we need an API. It's somewhere on our priority list.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying. On the priority list, they might surprise you. They might come up with some things which are more radical. For them right now, it may not be about implementing all this, user used to features like, showing up the +1s, everything. What if they want to actually release something really killer and take the whole crowd away. That's probably what they're concentrating on, the bigger task. I don't know. I'm just optimistic on Google.
I'd like to believe that, Sreek. I really would like to believe. You cannot believe how much I would like to believe that.
Absolutely.
The problem is they have disappointed me every single time I've wanted to believe.
Pam go ahead, Pam. Ask what you're asking in the chat there.
I think Alan should answer it better.
So why is an API so important? What would I do with it?
Well, here's the thing. An API is important because it provides other people the gateway to do awesome things with Google+.
I think you should explain what is an API first.
We have to explain this every month, don't we? Basically,
I read that. I know what it is.
Okay.
I just want to know what. So basically, you're saying you want to customize your Google+ experience or someone else's Google+ experience by jazzing it up, right?
It's not even so much jazzing it up. In some ways, it's letting it do things that you can't otherwise do. In other ways, it's letting people's imaginations run wild. As an example, we love, ripples have become one of the really neat and cool things that everyone plays with. Sometimes you wonder the practicality, other times it jumps out at you why it's such a cool thing. But ripples are generally considered pretty cool. That's something that you could do with an API. And it's something that people have done with, say, Twitter's API, because Twitter is very open with the API. There are a whole bunch of different clients and different ways to use Twitter because Twitter's got a very open API. Instagram, as one example of a way to do photo processing, for example, got as hot as it did because it was able to do things directly with Facebook's API and Twitter's API. You haven't seen Instagram photos show up on Google+ much because the open API isn't there. There's no ability to innovate, for outsiders to innovate. Now, one of the things that we've seen a lot with Facebook, for example, is more and more outside applications kind of latching on and working with Facebook. And that's been one of Facebook's big features. That's how games on Facebook got as hot as they did. It wasn't because somebody at Facebook said, we need to make some games. We need to encourage other people to make games. What Facebook said is, we're going to give an API and people will do whatever they want to do. And people did games with them. Zynga exists because Facebook said, hey, you can do whatever you want. And Zynga figured out what they wanted to do. In the past, Google has been really, really good at this. The reason why Google Maps blew away all of the other people that were out there at the time is because Google Maps had a great API. And other people were making great applications with Google's API. That's what made Google Maps the #1 map application on the internet. That's why you almost never hear of MapQuest anymore.
I just want to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sreek.
I just want to add to what Alan said and Pam asked. Like, customizing is just only way to look at it. What if tomorrow? It's just an example. I don't know that's possible right now. What if Pam has her own website and you want to start and have Hangout on air on your website, just like how you have. It's a very simple example. YouTube videos can be embedded in your website, right? What if you want to start your Hangout from your website? What if you want to have it live running on your website? I mean, it's more like Google exposing its a limited exposure of how it works and what functionalities can the users do, exposed to developers. I mean, people can run wild, exactly as what Alan said, but it also could mean that if not exposed properly, it can be misused.
And this is the problem that we see with a lot of Facebook apps, is that the app developers, is that Facebook kind of said, okay, you can do whatever you want. And some of the app developers said, okay, if we can do whatever we want, we're going to spam people to death. And that's been a serious problem on Facebook. And one of the things I keep hoping for, and why this goes back to your thing, Sreek, about holding out hope for them, is that somebody at Google has said, hey, we've got a really, really clever way to do this. we've got a good way to make sure that the really good apps, the apps that can really provide good value-added content can make it in, and the garbage apps can stay out, or the garbage apps can get shunted off to a circle of their own where people who really want that garbage can, and it won't affect other people. I'm really hoping they figured that out. But the indication so far is that they haven't.
Okay, any final thoughts on Scoble's thing or go ahead, Pam.
I was just going to say, but we have a bunch of Chrome apps that work with Google Plus already. So
and that's great for Chrome users.
That's the wrong way to go.
Other users.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I should point out that although we do have those apps, every time Google makes a subtle change, half of them break.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a non-published API.
And that's
true.
With and that's one of the problems. That's one of the reasons that they haven't opened the API further. That's their argument, because they don't want to do it, and then everyone spends all this time coding stuff. You know, Mohammed goes crazy coding these things, and then they change something and it doesn't work, and then they get berated with posts like this. And I just wanted to say that Oleg's running behind, but he wanted me just to relay that he agreed with every word that Scoble wrote, and is framing the post on his office wall in Kirkland, Washington. And he will...
Let me quickly add something, Dan. Let me quickly add something. I mean, what is that? The API stuff itself, right? I wish that someday, you know, you actually go in and do something, do a search on Google Maps, right? And then it actually shows you all the nearby, let's say downtown New York City. What if people are conducting live hangouts from different points? What if you can actually show that on the map, you know, public live hangout? Okay, there is you click on that and you see a small, I mean, the integration between how live feeds, hangout feeds coming in from locations. There are so many things you can think about how these services can work together.
Oh, the key is look at all the cool things you could do with Chrome, all the apps you can get, all the apps you can get for Facebook, all the cool apps, the different ways to access Twitter, and almost none of that exists for Google Plus yet. And so that's the whole thing. Jeff, or Sariq, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And out of the list from Scoble, I think one of Vic Gandotra's biggest priorities is going to be that API. I won't be surprised if you're going to see it pretty soon.
I don't know if it was his biggest priority, but okay.
I can almost tell you I can almost predict what date they're going to tell us about the API.
What's that?
I said I can almost predict what date they're going to tell us about the API.
Go ahead.
They're going to if they're going to announce it, they're going to announce it at Google I/O this summer.
Okay.
And I wonder if Scoble will be invited. No.
I am sure Scoble
I'm
is
sure he's invited. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you want to kind of maybe we should merge these next two topics because I don't want to belabor this point, Alan. The article from Why Google Plus Can Never Compete with Facebook, and Grace O'Malley uncovers the irony that Twitterers want Facebook over Google Plus. You want to kind of give us a quick rundown on this stuff?
Most of the rest of the subjects here are actually pretty repeated arguments. There was just two more articles, and I included them in our show notes so that people could look them up and reference them later. But basically, kind of what they boil down to is the same ghost town argument. Outsiders don't really feel like people are here. They don't feel like people are engaging here. And they don't really understand why people would want to engage here. And until this is explained to people who are not here, you're not going to get them here. And so it's fine to send a welcome wagon to people when they arrive. And it's fine to have a suggested user list. It's fine to have a what's hot list. It's fine to have all these things. But really what it boils down to is that people aren't coming here because they don't see a need to come here. And until someone, and I usually say that someone should be Google because it's their playground, but until someone explains to the world why they should be here, why is anyone going to come?
And again, these are all being framed in the context of Facebook versus Google. And in terms of advertising, eyes on the screen, that is a competition. But
I mean, here's the thing, though, Dan. A lot of people have said, Google Plus isn't Facebook. Everyone knows Google Plus isn't Facebook. Well, it's two things. One, if you're not on Google Plus, you don't know that it isn't Facebook. And Google directly invites the comparison to Facebook. In a pile of ways, Google has kind of encouraged that notion that this is a better Facebook. And that, from things about how Google Plus is laid out, to how the stream works, to the features that you see on it, to even the front page when you first sign up. Even if it never mentions the word Facebook, and it's not going to, it invites the comparisons directly. So until they're able to tell the outside world why they're not Facebook, that they're not Facebook, they're inviting the comparisons.
Does anyone here think, quick question, does anyone here think for a second that Facebook is not frantically coming up with a Hangouts competitor?
Oh, I think they are. I think they have to.
Absolutely agree that they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And if they do, that's going to be, it's going to be shameful, really, because, that the trusted network of Facebook will be all their friends, and all their friends are going to join the Facebook Hangouts, and it's already built in. They have a bigger kind of.
Here's the better question, though. Why isn't it already there?
I think because they probably bet on Skype a little bit with the Skype integration.
Skype has multi-user.
Right.
Chat.
Exactly.
Yeah, the problem, they take too much bandwidth because you're actually downloading the stream for each individual person there. Here we're doing a different thing. We're only downloading thumbnail video until somebody goes live, and then the server's sending you the information for whoever's hot. The problem with Skype is it's peer-to-peer. This is server-based. I think my question to you guys is, we talk about how many problems we have when Google rolls out a new feature. How many problems does Facebook have when they roll out a new feature?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they. I don't
think they do. And what I'm
thinking,
beat
up by their user base.
Is that as Google continues to roll out,
they get beat up on the privacy issues, right?
No, they get beat up on new features.
Everything.
All the time.
Yeah, the whole idea of a stream.
On them,
the whole idea when they first did the stream, they were mercilessly criticized, right, by their user base.
I'm not talking about criticism. I'm talking about actually having problems. What I'm suggesting is they're investing a lot more time and a lot more money on coming up with either a proprietary solution or buying out a company that already has a solution to make something that flows much better from different types of devices and has a uniform environment. If you guys have used this from different devices, it's a completely different experience. And that doesn't translate well to users that are familiar with having, one sort of user interface.
I have to agree with Peter on this because, number one, he's smarter than me. It's always good to agree with someone smarter than you. But, Facebook, all the times I've ever been on it has been rock solid. And I know today, for example, I thought the Hangouts have been kind of iffy and crashed a couple times. So, I think that it's been pretty rock solid. Facebook has a good reputation for that. And I think they continue when they roll out a product, it's pretty there.
I have to disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to use it on my iPhone.
Yeah,
it's a completely different experience on the iPhone than it is on the web.
Yeah, Facebook's been criticized for a long time about their mobile apps, for one example. And as they started rolling out their latest round of features, both the side-scrolling bar, the
timeline,
I forget what its nickname, the timeline. As these things started rolling out, the early people who got it didn't just say, "What is this piece of garbage?" They would also say, "And why isn't it working correctly?" So I think the biggest difference, though, is Facebook rolls out its changes a lot slower. So the first round of people who get a change, they're able to find and fix the problems before most people get the change. While Google, when it rolls out a change, most of us are getting it within a day at this point. Google's got a much better infrastructure for pushing out changes. The side effect of that is it also means that all of us see the bugs faster.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Priz, what's this about? Perhaps they should have built on YouTube's social system.
These two next articles were kind of interesting in my mind. The first one talks about how basically it was one user's suggestion, basically saying that, hey, they had a very good social network already going as part of YouTube's social network. And instead of throwing it all out and starting over again with Google Plus, they should have just built up on the existing social network that was in YouTube. And that was an interesting argument, but that came out pretty much a day before Google itself released one of its research papers. And this was a research paper that was analyzing the social network surrounding YouTube. And the conclusion of the research paper, and it's a research paper, so it's not exactly fun reading, the general conclusion from it was that the social network that was built up around YouTube is very similar to the social network that you'll find on Twitter in terms of how following works, in terms of how reshares work, in terms of the social graph that got created. So it was a pair of two articles that I thought were very interesting together. And that was kind of, I don't know, revealing to me. I'm not a big YouTube user. I don't really follow a lot about how that social network works at all. But it's an interesting question about why they might have chosen to start over instead of leveraging off of what they already had. I wondered if any of you had any thoughts on that either. Peter, did you have any thoughts?
No, the problem with the YouTube infrastructure is a lot of it. It's not really personal. The way that it's set up here, each account is one person. The problem with what you have on YouTube is you have a lot of accounts that are collective. They're a group of people that work on them together. So although it's a good idea, I mean, the two need to be pulled together for crying out loud, obviously. But now there's all this problem with people have 7 different accounts and they all perform different functions. And merging them and weaving them together is creating a headache for people to the point where it's a problem. It's a huge problem.
Well, I think they've got an incredible account management problem regardless. I mean, this even goes back to the fact that when Google Plus initially started, it was only available to some of their accounts, and it wasn't available to their paying customers. And that's a confusion that continues to today, just trying to untangle that mess. And they've got a lot of similar messes that need to get cleaned up somehow.
Yeah, they were a little late in the game going to the brand pages and things like that, So I think it took them a little bit longer to embrace that. And while everybody else is, follow us on Facebook, it didn't have the brand page out of the gate for Google Plus, and they lost that momentum.
That reminds me of something that I've actually been noticing more and more, is that people, brands will say something like, follow us on Facebook. Or if they're going to go to more than one, they'll say, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if they go to 3, they almost always say, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And I'm actually seeing that more and more, that brands are associating themselves with a YouTube channel instead of a Google Plus page.
I'm a bit skeptical about that because I don't know what Peter was trying to say, but YouTube is not really a network or a site where you actually have to sign in, right? It's a public site. A lot of people who is just browsing on YouTube doesn't even really have to, or actually don't log in. They just watch videos, right? So how different would it have been? Sometimes, I mean, if Google had started to make YouTube a social network, because when you actually consider it as a social network, then you're saying that, okay, users, they want to do something, they got to sign in, you need an ID. Of course, a lot of people will use, they want to use the Gmail ID or the Google account. But how different would it have been? I don't know. I don't think...
Well, I think, Sreek, if you can stay awake long enough to read the research paper and you look at the other article, both of them actually start to examine that fact about what it would have been like if YouTube was the core of the social network. And it's an interesting perspective. It's not one that I'm really familiar with, so I started getting educated a little bit here. But it's certainly an interesting question about, well, what if? And I think the follow-up question is, okay, and what are they going to do now?
Okay, let's jump to your announcement, Priz.
Yeah, I posted in the show notes that I had an announcement that I wanted to make that was related to the ghost town topic. And basically what it's going to be is I have had a lot of people talking to me recently about why they think Google Plus is a ghost town. And I'm going to be posting, starting next week, several of these stories. These are, in some cases, anecdotes. In fact, in almost all cases, they're anecdotes. But I hope they can start being used as an archetype about why people find Google Plus a ghost town, why people have left, why they're not coming, why they don't feel like they're welcome, what the problems are. And what I really hope to get out of it is, and what can be done to get them here. What changes does Google need to make? What changes do we need to make as the user population? I really hope to use these as examples of why people don't find the Google Plus experience to be as good as the rest of us think that it is.
That'll be interesting to watch the contents on that, and I imagine it will not be on the What's Hot list.
I imagine it will not be, and I imagine I will get several disagreeing comments, most of them from Oleg, I am sure. But this is something that I'm going to be starting next week, and I look forward to people honestly commenting and discussing it, because I want it to be a discussion. I think that's something that's been lacking a lot from this ghost town discussion is an actual discussion.
It could be framed more, and I'll throw it to you. It could be framed more as, how can we improve it, and then start with the anecdote. And Alan, you may want to get your Hangout on Air locked in before you begin this new endeavor.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to happen. But
go ahead, Pam.
Alan,
don't you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want us to share it and then say, hey, comment back on the original post or whatever?
Let me put it this way. I'm going to be making a post. It's going to be a public post. If you agree with it, if you disagree with it, do whatever you want with it. I am not telling you what to do with my post.
Yeah.
If you think people who follow you would be interested, by all means share it. If you think that people should be redirected to the original post, fine. If you think you want to continue the conversation under your name, that's also fine.
Probably not, because I'm not techie enough. I would rather just have a post
but
on
Pam,
here.
you're the kind of person we want. You're the kind of person who's not coming on. You're exactly the kind of person who should weigh in on this.
Part of it is that these are not all technical issues. These are social issues.
Right.
And I think once we start understanding that these are social issues and we understand how people are socially interacting, we can have a real conversation about it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you how to deal with people who follow you. Yeah. I'm going to encourage you to do what you would always do.
Oh, yeah. I'm always talking the same talking point every show, and it's this talking point. I don't understand. I think the best feature about Google Plus is these Hangouts. It is always, to me, hands down, the most enticing thing that Google Plus has for me. And I just don't get why they don't let you embed it on your website. I just don't understand that. I mean, I keep on saying it.
I have a partial answer for you there, Jeff, actually.
Because it would explode. People would just put it on all their websites. It's just...
I think it's coming.
Right now, one of the reasons why they don't let you do it is because it's a security hole. It's really what it boils down to. They're worried about people who will embed it on their site and then use it for clickjacking. And this is a legitimate security concern that they have right now, and they say they're...
Are they gun shy, though? They keep saying that.
Yeah, that's what we talked to the people in the Hangouts Thursday, and that's what they were telling us. It's basically a problem like that. They can't do it right now.
Okay.
Well, someone's going to beat them, like Peter was saying. It's if Facebook will beat them to the punch. They'll have some Hangout clone out there, and they lose that.
Facebook won't beat them to the punch on this, and the reason why is because Facebook doesn't want you to do anything on any other site except for Facebook's.
Yeah. I am with you on that. But what I'm saying, once Facebook, has the Hangout feature, if they have it, if they ever get it. It'll be even harder to get people to move off of that social network onto Google Plus because it's just a time sunk. People only have so much time to dedicate.
It all goes back to Google needs to give people a compelling reason to be here. And they
need a return on investment socially and time-wise.
Well, Google's Vice President Vic just did another article. It was posted. What's his last name?
Gondotra.
Forgot his name. But he Yeah. What he was saying is that this Google Plus is not meant to compete with Facebook at all. It's part of Google. He keeps saying this thing over and over again. They don't care about Facebook. They say Google Plus is going to slowly take over all Google. He said that all Google's going to...
They say that a lot. And if they actually did something to indicate that was actually what was going to happen, I would believe them a lot.
Oh, come on!
I
mean, they can say that all they want, but the bottom line is they're threatened by Facebook in terms of ad revenue. Facebook's making a lot of money on ads, and the eyes, however they do it, they got to get more eyes on Google than Facebook so they can make more money. So they are in essence competing.
Dan, you just said one thing slightly wrong. They don't need to get more eyes on Google. They need to get more eyes on Google's ads, and there's a difference there. And it's an important difference to understand.
What's the difference?
The difference is Google's ads are everywhere on the internet. Facebook's ads are on Facebook.
Well, okay. You could say, you could argue the inverse. Rather than say they need to get more eyes on Google, they need to get fewer eyes on Facebook because Google's ads are everywhere else. I mean, however you want to phrase it, they are in competition with Facebook.
Well, I phrase it that way. It's an important distinction because it goes to how Google is doing what they're trying to do. A lot of their things, a lot of the things they're putting in place are not trying to drive people to Facebook. They're trying to drive. I'm not trying to drive people to Google Plus. They're trying to drive people to your website. What they really want you to say is, instead of come visit Coca-Cola on Facebook or come visit us on Twitter at Coca-Cola, they want people to say, come to Coca-Cola.com. Because that's where Google makes their money. Is not going to Google, it's by going to Google's ads everywhere else.
Why do we think that Google is reluctant to release? I mean, there was a time when Google actually used to release half-baked beta products, right? With Google Plus, even though they call it even now beta, they're not doing that. I think the very first fact that they are betting the firm on this, that's what they said just before the release. They are very careful, and they're going to take their own sweet time. Like I read something today where they said, whatever happens, whether it's a success or not, it is going to be inevitably what Google is going to do. So they're going to take their own sweet time and not going to release half-baked products. Exactly like what Alan said. They're not going to release an embedded Hangout just because they want to capture the market. They're looking into the long run.
Oh yeah, of course they are. They have a huge investment in this. This is part of their general strategy of, like we've said on other shows, it's just going to be Google, and will be the Google experience, right? So, but like any other company, they wanted to succeed. They wanted to have. They might not care if they beat Facebook, but they want to definitely compete with Facebook. That's why they put out their own browser. They wanted to compete for the browsers, and that's why Chrome has the market share on browsers now. I mean, it's everything.
But it took it a while, right? Chrome became for a day the #1 browser according to the counter. But it took its time, right? We were patient about that. In my opinion, right now I only use Chrome. I think it's the best browser, but what I'm saying is, over a period of time, if it's the long run strategy for them, all this discussion about whether Google Plus is going to succeed or not will just vanish. That's
I thoroughly agree. The ghost town theory, I don't buy as well.
Well, here's the thing also, though. I mean, along those lines, Sharif, is that they said that a year from now, the Google Plus as we know it today won't be there.
I think let's close this and let me get Peter. Peter, do me a favor. Will you? Anthony's attempting to join. I think he's come in and out a few times. Peter, do me a favor. Are you looking at the Justin chat, Peter? All right, do me a favor. I'm going to get Alan to go on this this ratings bonanza topic, this Read Write Web article with all the charts and graphs. If you can peruse the Justin thing, because it's too many for me to, I can't keep up. And just kind of pull out some good things that we should note or ask, a question about or something. And Alan, let me go to you on this thing. This is the Read Write Web article. Mobile devs interested in Google over Facebook for social mobile apps. Do you plan to integrate HTML5 as a component into the mobile apps you plan to build in 2012? And it's a good article. There's a link to it. And Alan is uniquely qualified as an app developer to kind of weigh in on this. And let's kind of do it brief and in layman's terms, if you can kind of, as best you possibly can.
In layman's terms, I mean, basically it does talk about a lot of technical things, but they've got some interesting surveys in there that kind of go to the why would developers be interested in Facebook versus why would developers be interested in Google. And when they talk about Google, they do talk about Google, the whole range of Google's APIs, everything that you can do from Google. And some interesting stats, for example, 90% of the developers said that they would be developing for Facebook because of the installed base. In other words, 90% of developers realize the fact that Facebook is essentially dominating the market when it comes to users. So they see it as to their advantage to develop for a platform where they know people are. At the same time, though, they also recognize the fact that Google's installed base is also huge, and that means there are a lot of people using Android. So they realize, yeah, we got to pay attention to Facebook, but we also got to pay attention to this Android side. And at the same time, once they start looking at other things, they realize the advantages that they have going with Google. And those include things like Google's APIs are really easy to use. Google's APIs are very flexible. It lets them do a lot of things. Facebook's APIs are very narrow. It's a very narrow scope when it comes to Facebook, while Google gives them a wider range of things that they can do. So basically what it kind of boils down to is they're looking at both sides. But overall they're saying, we've got to pay attention to both, but we need to pay attention to Facebook because that's where our users are. But for everything else, we'd rather be on Google's platform. If Google can leverage this, if Google can say, hey, we've got incredible mobile support. We've got incredible mobile support for developers. We've got this incredible, all of these powerful things that you as a developer can do and can leverage cheaply and easily for your customers. We're going to give you an advantage. And that's where Google is going, and that's where they need to get.
Well, clearly, Alan, the brands are coming, and many are here, and they're coming because of the integration. It leads to a better experience on Google search. If people are +1ing your stuff, the integration, and that's what it's all about, the advertising revenue. So, in part, but do you think that Google made a big mistake in going open beta too soon?
It's not a matter of them going too soon. It's a number of things, and there are things we touched on before. But my question would be, is if you're, there's all different types of SEO, there's all different types of social media firms that actually help companies do traditional marketing and online marketing. They get them on Facebook and on Twitter. Now, if you're one of these people, you have an elevator pitch. You can tell somebody in 30 seconds or less exactly why their business needs to be on Facebook, why they should be on Twitter, and why they need to start producing videos on YouTube. Now, if I were to get on an elevator with a business as a social media strategist and tell them that they need to get on Google+, I know why inherently, for search reasons. That's the main reason you want to be here right now. But aside from that, I would have a hard time coming up with an elevator pitch because a lot of these things that we hoped would be fixed when they added brand pages haven't even been addressed yet. So if you notice a lot of brands are here, they're not spending a lot of time here because they're not getting a lot out of what they're putting in.
Peter, you got any? Go ahead, Jeff, and then we'll get to.
I think people are that the brand pages are just kind of forming and using them as placeholders to kind of get their spot. But they're not really actively doing anything.
Some folks are, and they're getting engagement, and they're getting shared. And Google's, of course,
from the people here, Dan. From the people here.
Yeah, true. Just like every Hangout,
it's not even a good.
There's like 50 people who occupy all the Hangouts, most of whom are here now. Peter, what you got from the any good gems we need to throw up from the Justin chat room?
Yeah, Jonathan writes, one thing he noticed especially is that it is not a friendly-looking place, and it's kind of cold and a turnoff for many when they get here, speaking of Google+. Also,
let me stop you on that one.
well,
Do you
Hangouts,
mean, are you talking about the interface? Like the physical interface?
Jonathan, if you want to let us know exactly what you meant by the...
I'm not going to speak for Jonathan, but I do know that one of the things that I hear a lot is people, when they see it, they say, you know, it's too white, it's too stark, it's too harsh. Hasn't Google hired a designer yet?
Well, I mean, you don't want MySpace. You know what I mean? I mean, MySpace was great in its day for what it did.
I think this is more speaking in experience, though, not just necessarily the visual feel, but when you get here, it's cold and sterile.
He just clarified, and he did say, yes, it's the interface of G+. I mean, if you compare it, for example, to Twitter. Twitter, one of the first things they let you do is change your background. They let you design what environment you want to live in. And that's friendly. You know, it's got themes, it's got styling, it looks nice. These are little things, but they mean a lot to some people.
Well, here's the thing, and you have to put it in perspective. A social network is about the people and the content. It's just like a bar or a coffee shop. Every bar or coffee shop has 4 walls. They sell the same stuff. There's tables and chairs. The quality of the people and the conversation and the bartender or the barista, whatever you call it, that's what differentiates the local cool coffee shop from the Starbucks, from the thing in Target. And sometimes I think that we love Google Plus in spite of the interface as opposed to because of it. And really it's about, I mean, the folks, I don't care that it's a plain white Hangout or whatever. I enjoy conversing with all you folks, and I consider all of you my friends, even though none of us in this whole Hangout have ever met in person.
Well, I disagree with you, Dan, because when I go to Starbucks, I can choose whatever type of coffee or whatever type of beverage. It doesn't even have to be coffee. It can be tea. It can be a Frappuccino. Whatever I want to get, I can choose it when I go there. If Starbucks said, we're only going to serve black coffee, we don't have any decaf, it's only going to be black coffee, you can't put any sweetener or any creamer in it.
That's not analogous. What I'm saying is if the coffee's better, you're going to go there. If it's not, you're not going to go there. It's not about what color the walls are or something. I guess to a certain degree, but then maybe that's unfair because like you can say we in this room here like the content and the friendship and the knowledge and stuff so much that we'll put up with this interface, whereas go ahead.
Dan, here's the thing, and Jonathan just made it a great example. If I said I was going to be down in Virginia next week, let's meet up for a coffee. You said, hey, there are 2 coffee places that are right next to each other. One is a Starbucks, the other one's a Dunkin' Donuts. Which of the 2 would we be?
We'd meet in the Starbucks, clearly, if those are the options.
Okay, so if I said to you, hey, let's go chat online, we can either chat in a place that is white and black, monochrome only, or we can meet in a place that has actually some nice background decorations that don't get in the way.
Which it gets back to Scoble's point that they need to come up with a fancy iPad app. Peter, you had. There
you go.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's talk about user interface. It's definitely a problem. First of all, it's not universal. Second of all, it's completely different depending on what environment you have, so your experience is going to be different. If you get on Google Plus on the iPad using the web-based interface, and you've used it on a traditional browser before, it's going to confuse you. It's very cumbersome to use, and as Global said, when I see things on anything on iOS, I don't even want to deal with it until I either get on Android or get on my computer. I'm not going to say Android's great. It's not. It's half-assed, really, for the lack of anything better. But there's got to be improvements there, and that's where the API is key. And I think Vic was in the wrong when he told Guy Kawasaki to Fireside Chat, we're not going to allow posting from third parties, which means I'm not going to be able to view this content in an interface that's comfortable for me, which is something I can do with Facebook.
That is one thing I agree with. If you are posting to multiple things, and you want to use something like Hootsuite or something that you could post to all your social networks at the same time and post it once and have it look similar, right? You can't do that because Google's locked down.
But Jeff, even in one way, I can't even get an RSS feed for my posts. Like there is only one way to look at the content on here, and it's either using Google Plus or using Google Search, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, did you have another comment or something, Peter? before we go on to the next topic?
No.
Okay. All right. Next thing up is I've lost my train of thought. I was in a different tab. Must have been grabbing a short URL or something. Notifications are messed up. I noticed that Priz, I wasn't getting them for a while, and Linda Laurie has been talking about this for ages, and I've always thought it was an issue because of scale, because she has 1 million followers and we don't. But then now I see I'm getting, like I'll be in one tab, and I'll look at my notifications. It'll say I have 2 notifications, and then I'll click on it, and I'll look at them both, and then I'll close the thing, and then I'll click on something and open a new tab or whatever, and then I get the red 2 pops up again, and I'll click, and it's the same 2, and it shows that they've been read. So something is amiss. But what's the deal?
It's even more insidious than that. If you're sitting in Google Plus and you get your 2 notifications, you click on it, you look at the 2 notifications, you close it out. 2 or 3 seconds later, it tells you have 2 notifications again. And if you let that sit for about a minute, they'll go away. But if you click on it, you'll find out that everything's already been read. This has been bugging a lot of people. I posted about it about 2 days ago, thinking I was the only one. And I got a flood of people agreeing with me. And today, yesterday and today, I saw a good 5 or 10 other people essentially saying, hey, these notifications are broken. And I think it's one of those little things that really is bugging people. You finally clear out your notifications, and lo and behold, they suddenly come back. But they didn't. So it's irritating, it's frustrating. It's one of those things where it would be nice if Google said, yeah, we see there's a notification problem, we're working on it. That would be a nice thing, especially when everyone is reporting.
That's the story of our lives on this network. And I see a war is breaking out between Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks in the Justin chat. And but Sarik, you had a thing before we move? Sarik, you were about to say something?
Oh, no. I mean, I was just saying that the notification, what Alan said, I just wanted to ask Alan, is it the same browser instance which is showing you the notification again, or you have multiple ones open?
It is the exact same window, the exact same tab. I will literally close my notifications and sit there without changing a window, without changing a tab, without doing anything. And a few seconds later, the notification lights up again.
I think that's just one of the problems we are having with notifications. I don't know how a person like Linda Laurie handles all the notifications. I mean, if you start getting notifications in the thousands, it actually loses its relevance.
She turns them off except for her circles, because there's no way otherwise. And when she was on the show, she's grown so rapidly. I don't know what she's up to now, probably 1 million or close to it. She was like at 300 and something thousand when she was on the show, and it wasn't too long ago. Because she's on the special list.
I think technically speaking, they have a queuing problem in terms of how they deliver the notification. Something is not right in the process. Don't want to get technical here, but that's the thing, I think.
Okay, Priz, you had I guess you can now add from email, right? Tell us about this.
One of the new features we got this week, in fact, it was one of 2 new features total, actually is related to notifications. And this was announced this evening from the Gmail page, was that now if you get a notification that's sent to Gmail, you'll sometimes get these notifications that give you the list of people who have added you. One of the new features is that you can now add them directly from that email message. So the email contains a link. Hovering over the link gives you the usual, here are the circles that you can add them to, and lets you do it right from there. It's a clever new feature. It doesn't really give you too much that you don't already have. But if you manage your new user notifications through email instead of through the red box, it gives you a new way to manage them a little bit. So I'm sure there are probably a couple of people who might find this a useful feature. I'm not one of them. I don't actually know anybody who will be one of them, but I'm sure there are people out there who will find this useful.
And the second thing?
The second new feature that we got this week is is actually an old feature that has been moved over from Hangouts on Extra, and that is we can now make phone calls from our Hangouts again. And an interesting change from Hangouts with Extras, though, back then you can make a whole bunch of outgoing phone calls, so you can have multiple people in by phone. Now you're limited to just one phone call. So it's
I thought it was
nope,
two.
just one.
Now it
according to the
replaces
post.
it.
So
If you make another one, I guess it ends the first call.
yes, that was.
But does that
what it
mean can
implies.
everyone
And again,
can
it's
everyone
not-
make a call? Like each of us, and we got 20
Well, I don't
people?
know, but I do know that in this one, I did see that that I was going to be able to make the phone call. I didn't try it, but it gave me the option. I don't know what would happen if two different people from the Hangout would try to do that. I'm sure that somebody will experiment with that.
As
later.
as they continue to duke it out about Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts, let's see what George Cozy said. Alan just said something very important. George has obviously had too much coffee.
Exactly.
One of the features we got this week, that means that Google has been pumping out features on a regular basis, and we got used to that. In fact, we expect it. True. And a lot of this,
That's true.
we concentrated on the negative in
George
the
makes a good
beginning,
point.
right? But there's so much that's so cool that blows Facebook away. I mean, or I guess it's not really comparative, but like the hidden gems, like ripples, where you can, if you have a post go viral, and I've had a few, one unfortunately so, but if you look at the ripples, it shows you very quickly each share and what they said about it. It's very efficient. It's really neat, but it's like a geek-centric thing. They're still catering to the geeks when we need more Pams.
Yeah, but there it's catering to marketing geeks, which is a different class. Yes, I mean I think there are a lot of nice little hidden features in Google Plus, but as Peter said earlier, it's hard to it's hard to pitch these things in an elevator. It's hard to make them your elevator pitch. It's easy that once a person is there, you can say, "Oh, hey, this was pretty cool," or talking about something in conversation with someone, you could say, "Hey, did you check out the ripple on this? It's a pretty neat result." Or, "Hey, if you look at the creative kit, you can edit your photos nicely. That's a nice creative editing that you did there." You just can't tell these to the outside world.
Well, because you have to. It's not a compelling story. Each one is interesting, but as a whole, it's just not a compelling story to get.
Well,
all my friends to switch from Facebook over to Google Plus.
I disagree with you slightly on that, Jeff. I think as a whole, it is compelling. The problem is each one individually is not.
Correct.
And it's hard to explain them as a whole.
Correct. Yep, I agree.
So as for what George said, yeah, we got used to features being pumped out all the time. In fact, that was one of the things that Google kind of put, they kind of made that a notable thing. They said, hey, changes are going to be coming fast and furious. If you thought last year was good, wait until you see this year.
Right.
We've delivered on the Google, and now we're delivering the Plus. They've built it that way. They've kind of psyched us up for that. And we've seen nothing for 3 weeks. Is this the third week or the fourth week now that we've really essentially had no major changes? We've had a couple of bug fixes. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the bug fixes. I appreciate the bug fixes a lot. But, you kind of start going, hey, wait a minute. If Google is so rapidly pushing this, why haven't we seen more faster? And you kind of, I don't know. You kind of get disappointed when you don't see that.
Yeah, they did update the Google Talk plugin because of the echo noise.
Right, they fixed the echo noise bug, but that was a bug that they introduced.
They just reverted back,
hopefully
right?
They're going to fix this notification bug, but that's a bug that got introduced. They're fixing things little by little. I mean, admittedly, one of the things we didn't cover in the past few weeks is that at some point in the past few weeks, notifications work. The messages for the notifications are a little bit nicer. They work a little bit better. They fixed a couple of the little bugs with it. But, once again, it's hard to kind of even pitch internally, hey, let's get excited. They finally got notification messages looking good.
Right. But one thing I am seeing is some newscasts are kind of picking up on it, like broadcast news are doing Hangouts and trying to joint produce
We're seeing more and more people following Sarah Hill and following up with what she's doing.
The problem is, though, Alan, it's still not too many local people. You'll see a bunch of us in there. You know, and from New Zealand joining us, you know, George Cozy joins us from, you know, Holland or whatever. And oh, we have the local person who's using Google Plus here in, you know, Albuquerque. I mean, it's funny. There is an adoption issue, you know?
Oh yeah, it's the same people. I mean, I see the same people in every hangout.
And really,
I'm in, and that's,
it's
you know,
not complicated to do this. But even with Skype, I don't know. I mean, of your local friends, your general local friends, I'm not talking your colleagues at a tech geek job, right? Your local general friends, how many of them actually use Skype? Maybe 5%, if that. How many would use a Hangout? How many would feel comfortable entering into a video audio chat on the internet?
This is actually an interesting thing that was proposed at the recent Hangout, where the Hangout has a middle.
The Hangout.
The Hangout team has a Hangout every week, and one of the people requested not just being able to start a Hangout from an external website, but being able to start a Hangout from an application, in kind of duplicating what you can get with Skype. And their argument was that grandma can figure out Skype. It has a nice console. You click a button, it comes up. You click another button, and the video starts. It's quick. It's simple. It doesn't, it manages the sign-ins for you. You don't have that yet with Google Plus Hangouts. And if you introduce that to Hangouts, you've got you've got a great killer feature. And immediately, my thought was, hey, this is Dan and his video camera on top of the TV question. So
yeah, but
I think.
But if they opened it up, someone would love to do that, right? I mean, someone would write like in My Hangouts, kind of deal, or Canopy, right? They would have that, create a Hangout here, call your mom, boom. Google doesn't have to do it themselves, right?
I'm going to read something that Pam just sent to our internal chat, and besides the irony behind it, because Pam right now is blacked out because she's eating dinner. She says, some of us are introverts and would prefer not to be on video. Ignoring the irony here, the double irony actually, Pam has an excellent point. I know, yes. And it's one of the points that I was going to be making as well in my one of my series next week. There are a lot of people who really have no interest in public hangouts. It's
Correct.
Not that they think they're bad; they just don't think it's for them.
Right.
Now, will they enter a private hangout? Yeah, they might enter a private hangout with a couple of people they're already friends with. But they're not going to enter a public hangout. And the reason why they're not going to enter a public hangout is they don't have an interest in hanging out with 9 people they don't know. That's really what it boils down to. They're not interested in making new friends that they can see on video.
Right.
These are not things that interest them. I'll be honest. I'm one of those people. I'm not in this hangout because I like hanging out with strangers. I'm in this hangout because I've gotten to know you people. And the reason why I first entered this hangout was because I had a bone to pick with Dan. 35
Are you serious?
weeks ago.
What was it about? I don't remember.
Pseudonyms.
Oh.
What do you think?
Oh, that's right.
Gosh.
It's all coming back to me now. That's a pet peeve of yours. That whole initial.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, but Hangouts, they're a killer app. They really are Google Plus's big killer app right now. But marketing them as a public thing is not always going to work well. And it's interesting. If you look at how Google has been marketing Hangouts, they don't market public Hangouts. They market it as a way to hang out with your friends.
Exactly.
That's what the Muppet
Muppets
Hangout was showing us. That you hang out with your friends.
Alan, let me add this. I was a Skype user for a long time, and over a period of time, Google made it very, very simple with Gmail video chat. The quality of the video was excellent. I don't remember using Skype on my laptop or my computer in a while. The whole the whole idea of getting the video on the browser was a killer app by itself. Now, having said that, I think on the iPhone, on the iOS machines, Skype still is better. I don't know why, but Skype still is better on my iPhone. Having said that, yes, Hangout is a killer app, as well as it's gonna make it. I mean, the subtle way Google promotes it, or lack of promotion, probably is the way it's gonna catch up. And then I don't even know whether Skype has any relevance, any installable applications which you're gonna do to use to do Hangouts or video chat is gonna lose its relevance unless you're gonna go back to Google TV or Apple TV and have it on your TV, which might happen pretty soon. But as of now, I think a lot of people have migrated from Skype to Gmail video chat, which is much better, in my opinion.
Okay. And we just got a good from Henry James Ball. He said, "I've only oh, where is it? Gosh, I just lost it. A comment on one of the posts. I've only ever hung out with my mom. It's going to be hard to make video talking more socially acceptable than just with family members or really close friends, because a lot of people are not, social beasts or I mean outgoing public types, and they just they're normal people. We're Abby normal." Abby normal. So yeah, good observation, echoing what we've experienced. Okay, any final thoughts? We'll close with Alan, but he's got 5 minutes left. Anthony, real quick, any thoughts on did you see the Robert Scoble post? Any thoughts on that real quick? It was just praising all of the features. Okay, I'm just kidding. Any final thoughts? Did you have a good Google Plus week?
Oh, me? No, yeah, sure.
And we're going to take up a collection to remove the Shasta can on your filing cabinet behind you there. Good to have you with us.
Oh, you should make it a logo.
I haven't seen a post about Wegmans and that additive this week. I'm still waiting. Yeah. Actually, the picture of the pink slime is actually chicken. The beef stuff actually looks like some kind of little, I don't know, but I don't want to get into that. I'm just gonna make Anthony mad. He's gonna.
Hi, I'm Dan McDermott, and this is Pink Slime Week. Your coverage of the coolest, slimiest in the world.
It probably would get higher ratings than Google Plus Week.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's such a big deal. Because if it was green, Nickelodeon would be buying it all up and whatever.
There you go. I mean, it's I post. Mike Elgin posted something. I don't have a problem with their use of it. I have a problem with being able to hide it. Sariq, any final thoughts on this Google Plus Week?
Yeah, I mean, this time you actually didn't have any social issue in a discussion about social networks, so I was just wondering, you're going to bring up something, but I think Dan shot it down, but so it's fine. I mean, Alan shot it down.
Yeah, we got it.
But I had a good time. It was a little, fewer number of topics, but we had a great discussion. Yeah.
Pam, any final thoughts now that you're back?
Other than I really hope they fix the notification problem really soon, because it really is annoying.
No.
Yeah, I haven't really experienced it. I've experienced a little bit, but most of the stuff's going through. But I hear you. If you shared something with me directly or did a private post to me, I'd certainly want to know about it. Otherwise, you're going to think I'm ignoring you and being rude. But Jeff, what are your final thoughts this week?
It has nothing to do with Google Plus. My prediction is New York is going to embrace Tebow mania.
What do you think about that guy? About the internet thing?
You mean about the?
I forget. I don't even know what it's called. I can't remember the guy's name. They're gonna take the local channels and stream them, because I guess it's notorious in the city. I know that we have 2 New Yorkers here, but not in New York City. We have Rochester and the undisclosed location for our unnamed guest. Yeah, so I guess it's horrendous reception in New York City because all the buildings or what have you. But I guess he's going to broadcast it over the internet, and they're suing each other. But, you don't care.
Yeah.
All right.
Go Tebow.
All right. That's everybody, right? Except Alan. Alan.
How about you, Dan? What do you? How was your Google Plus week?
I had a good week.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a good week. It was fun. I didn't engage as much as normal, but I've got a new inside sales rep I've been training for here, and she's doing great. Her name's Wendy, and she's selling ads, and so that's a good thing. Being in a dying industry, it's good to have some revenue coming in.
Ad sales are always good.
Alan Furstenberg. Last word from Alan Furstenberg. That's our new ending tagline.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Let's see how this whole ghost town thing plays out. I mean, because we're going to get more articles on both sides of it. I hope I am going to be adding a sane voice to it, and I hope people engage in the discussion. So I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. I think it's it was an important post, Alan. It was an important post that he wrote, and it came from a friend,
And that's it, Dan. You got to remember, all of us really are fundamentally friends to Google. We want to see it succeed. We want to see this to be a great place. All of our criticisms are because we have incredibly high hopes for
Nothing wrong with tough love.
Maybe they're too high, but it's all coming out of love.
Okay, thanks to the whole panel and everyone who stopped in today. I really appreciate it. We're here every Friday night live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and either now it's midnight, but midnight or 1 a.m. GMT, depending what we do with our crazy time system here on the mainland. But I want to thank you folks for watching so much, and I'll post a circle of everyone who was in the Hangout, and I'll keep the Hangout going for who wants to come in. I'll open it up to all my circles. Oleg was missed, but it did shave about an hour off this thing, right? I'm not sure what that means. Don't call me Russian guy. I am American, 30 years. Hey, thanks so much. We love Oleg, and he'll be back next week, I promise. Thanks so much for joining us on another fantastic, fun-filled, action-packed episode 35 of Google Plus Week.